I'm Amanda, your video trainer. Before you can get started, you'll need to know a few things about the plant. Please pay close attention to the information in this video. It is important that you fully understand the items we're about to cover. There will be an acknowledgement to sign following the presentation. This orientation is not all-inclusive. If you should have any questions concerning your orientation, contact your designated supervisor or member of management immediately. Do not attempt anything without the proper information or instructions. Because of security, safety, and compliance with the food industry regulations, visitors, including family members, are not permitted on company property unless they are on official company business or when prior management approval has been obtained. Employees and leased workforce personnel who are off-duty are not permitted to be in the interior of the facility, parking areas, or other working areas for any reason without prior supervisor approval unless they are reporting to work, leaving work, or handling company-related business. Employees and leased workforce personnel who are on duty must secure permission from their supervisor before leaving the facility during working hours and must report to their designated supervisor upon returning. If you have any questions on the visitor and plant access policy, check with your designated supervisor. Alcohol and illegal drugs of any kind are not permitted. This company has a zero-tolerance policy, and we comply fully with the Drug-Free Workplace Act of 1988. Our work is important to the health and safety of the millions of people who consume our products. The company must maintain such high standards in order to produce a safe, top-quality product. All persons working in any capacity at this facility must fully understand that it is an absolute violation of company policy for any person who performs work here to be involved in the illegal use, possession, manufacture, distribution, dispensation, or sale of drugs or drug paraphernalia, or use or possession of alcohol on company property or while on company business, in a company-supplied vehicle, or during working hours including breaks and meal periods, or off company premises in a manner that the company determines may affect the individual's work performance, his or her own or others' workplace safety while working, or otherwise adversely affect the business. You also may not be under the influence due to the use of illegal drugs or alcohol on company property, in company-supplied vehicles, or during working hours. All agencies, firms, and/or contractors who have people at this facility have been informed of this policy and have agreed to cooperate in the enforcement of this policy. Enforcement efforts may include searches at company discretion of lockers, lunch boxes, vehicles, desks, clothing, and work areas. We are firmly committed to a drug and alcohol-free workplace. We request your understanding and cooperation to ensure compliance with this policy. Your assignment with this company will be immediately ended for failure to comply with the drug and alcohol policy. This includes refusal to cooperate with any or all procedures encompassed by this policy. In the interest of good manufacturing practices and providing a healthy work environment, this facility is a tobacco-free workplace. Tobacco use is permitted only in approved areas. See your designated supervisor and plant rules for more details. It is this company's policy to maintain the best possible workplace atmosphere for everyone who works here. This policy includes the right of individuals to be free from sexual and all other forms of unlawful harassment of any kind in the workplace. This includes harassment because of a person's race, color, religion, gender, national origin, age, or disability. It is not the purpose of this policy to intrude upon the personal lives of individuals. However, sexual and other unlawful harassment in the workplace will not be tolerated. What is sexual harassment? Sexual harassment includes unwelcomed or offensive sexual advances, solicitation, comments, or physical conduct of a sexual nature. This specifically includes any conduct or actions that create an intimidating, hostile, or offensive working environment. Any person who believes the harassment policy is being violated should report the matter immediately to any member of management. All complaints will be thoroughly investigated and all persons, including supervisors and managers, will be handled accordingly for any violation of this policy. It is the intent of the company, to the extent possible, to protect the confidentiality of the person making a complaint and the person accused. We encourage the reporting of anything considered harassment. No person will be subject to any form of retaliation or discipline for making a good faith complaint for any type of harassment, including sexual. The company policy against harassment is posted on the company bulletin board. If you have any questions concerning the company policy against harassment, please see your designated supervisor. Company bulletin boards play a vital role in communicating with our employees, leased workforce, and authorized visitors. Therefore, company bulletin boards are maintained for the posting of work-related announcements, such as schedule changes, holiday notices, safety bulletins, activities, legal notices, policies and procedures, work rules, and certain notices of general interest. This information is posted so that all people in the facility will receive information that is important to them. In order to maintain consistency in the format of material posted, all company bulletin boards will be under the supervision of the Human Resources Department. Materials for posting on company bulletin boards should be submitted to the Director of Human Resources for approval and posting. Any material posted without proper approval will be removed. Departmental bulletin boards may be established at the discretion of the department head, who must approve, initial, and predate for removal all notices before they are posted. The use of such bulletin boards shall be confined to the operation and work of the department, departmental activities, and departmentally approved employee activities. Check with your designated supervisor for the location of company and department bulletin boards. If you handle any type of chemical, you must be trained in its proper use and handling, necessary safety measures, including the use of safety equipment and the procedures for handling emergencies. To help you understand chemicals and hazardous materials in the workplace, a hazard communication program is in place to assist you. A copy of this program is kept in various locations in the plant. The hazard communication program includes the following. Chemical listings are separated by department and include the name of the chemical and its manufacturer source. A copy of each material safety data sheet is kept in the hazard communication program. These sheets are located following each chemical listing by department. The MSDS on each chemical will list the identity, hazardous ingredients, physical and chemical characteristics, fire and explosion hazards, reactivity data, health hazards, precautions for safe handling and use control measures, and personal protective equipment. This facility utilizes an alternative labeling system called the Hazardous Material Identification System, also known as HMIS, in addition to any label attached by the supplier or manufacturer. HMIS labels identify chemicals with standard hazard ratings from 0 to 4 for health, flammability, and reactivity. These three categories are sections from MSDSs and are designated with identifying color codes. The health section is represented by a blue color code, flammability by a red, and reactivity by yellow. There is an alphabetical designation for the required or recommended personal protective equipment. This category or section is also listed on the chemical MSDS and identified with a white color code. It is the company's responsibility to inform you of the chemicals used in this workplace. It is your responsibility to follow the correct procedures in their use. If you're not sure of the use of a particular chemical or do not know the location of the material safety data sheets, ask your designated supervisor. The objective of a lockout-tagout is to disable the machine being worked on for cleaning, repair, or maintenance by isolating its energy source. Typically, there are 5 different types of energy: electrical, hydraulic, pneumatic, chemical, and thermal. Each of these types of energy can exist in 2 states, which are active or stored. Any type of energy in any state can be hazardous. Lockout-tagout devices are 1. Locks-on devices to prevent the release of energy, such as a circuit box or a line valve, and 2. Tags on a switch or other shut-off device. Only certain employees are authorized to install lockout-tagout devices. These employees have been trained in the proper use of these devices and are familiar with the required procedures. Employees working around lockout machines will be informed whenever lockout-tagout work is being done in their area. Employees working in an area where lockout-tagout work is being done are prohibited from removing lockout-tagout devices and restarting lockout equipment. There are situations that require additional lockout-tagout procedures. One example is during a shift change. During a shift change, departing personnel must remove their own lockout-tagout devices so that incoming personnel can install their own devices. Also, when multiple people are working on a piece of equipment, procedures require that each employee install his or her own lock. Lockout-tagout procedures require that all energy sources be identified, that each employee attaches their own lock, that equipment is tested after locks and tags are in place, and that the person removing the last lockout-tagout device makes sure that the work is completed and the equipment is safe to operate. If you have any questions, please see your designated supervisor. Electricity can be dangerous. It can damage equipment, start fires, and cause injuries or even death. Therefore, it's important that we exercise caution when working with and around electricity. To get an electric shock, the body must become a part of an electrical circuit by being placed between 2 points that have different electrical potential. Electricity always tries to reach the ground. Excellent conductors include people, water, a damp floor, or metal. Improper procedure, lack of caution, or inattention to good safety practices are contributing factors in most electrical accidents. Items such as metal jewelry and watches conduct dangerous amounts of electricity and should not be worn when working with or around electricity. Each and every time you start to use any type of electrical equipment, make a visual inspection of it. If you see anything loose, cracked, broken, bent, or exposed, do not use the equipment. Notify your designated supervisor so arrangements can be made to repair the problem. Keep fluids, chemicals, and heat away from equipment cables at all times. Most liquids are good conductors and can cause shock paths. Connect and disconnect powered equipment by holding the plug firmly and straight when inserting or retracting it from the wall outlet. Jerking the plug from the outlet by pulling on the cord will damage the outlet and the plug. Always plug equipment into an outlet with the power switch off. Water and electricity are a dangerous combination. Never plug cords in that are wet, and don't touch electrical equipment if your hands are wet. Protect cords, plugs, and equipment from damage. When portable equipment or conveyors are not in use, always roll up the cords and place them on the equipment to prevent rollover damage. Report any electrical problems to your designated supervisor immediately. A shock, sparking, or a burning electrical smell are urgent warnings. Risks are one thing that should not be taken when working in a confined space. When procedures are not followed, accidents may happen. A confined space is defined as any working area which is 1. Difficult to enter and leave, 2. Not intended for full-time employee occupancy, and 3. Poorly ventilated, allowing for the potential accumulation of air contaminants, flammable agents, or depletion of oxygen. Some examples of confined spaces are flower bins, ovens and proof boxes, manholes, and tanks. These spaces have been identified and labeled in the facility. A full-time confined space is an area that requires a permit for each entry. A conditional confined space is a work area that under normal conditions doesn't require a permit. If conditions change to a hazardous area, a permit would then be required. Permit-required confined spaces cannot be entered unless you have been properly trained and have obtained the required permit and assistance. Conditional confined spaces can be entered by acquiring authorization from your designated supervisor. When a request for a permit occurs, the person making the request or the supervisor will review the job site analysis record. They then will complete and record the required information on the permit. The procedure for a permit approval is as follows. A. Worksite evaluation. The person performs the necessary preparation for entry and records the result on the permit. B. Testing and monitoring. The job site analysis will outline testing and monitoring requirements. The person will perform and record the testing and monitoring results on the appropriate permit. Be sure that the person using the monitoring equipment is trained in its use and in the calibration of the monitor. C. Safety equipment and tools. The checklist will outline the required equipment and tools. This is then recorded and signed on the permit. D. Safety attendant. This person is always stationed immediately outside the confined space while the coworker is inside the space. In an emergency procedure, the attendant shall not enter the confined space until help arrives, and then only if they are a part of a trained in-house rescue team which requires the use of protective equipment. Remember, don't take risks when working in a confined space, and never enter a confined space without a permit approved by the proper supervisor. Hearing conservation is important. Monitoring is conducted periodically in order to evaluate noise areas within the plant. In the areas where noise levels have been identified that come close or exceed the OSHA requirement for hearing protection, signs have been posted that remind all workers that hearing protection is required in these areas. Earplugs similar to those shown will be furnished to you by your designated supervisor to be worn at all times while you are in areas that require hearing protection. Any worker who does not follow this procedure will have their assignment within this company ended. Earplugs should be kept in good condition. They must be washed with soap and water, rinsed and dried. When storing your earplugs, make sure they are kept clean to prevent possible ear infection. These earplugs may be replaced when they become too worn. If earplugs are lost or accidentally dropped into the product, report it to your designated supervisor immediately. Take every precaution to avoid this from occurring. The Hearing Conservation Program was developed for your protection. Please do your part by following these guidelines. The operation of forklifts in this facility is strictly limited to workers who use this equipment to conduct their job functions and who are specifically trained and certified to operate a forklift. Each operator must be very familiar with each function of this equipment. If your job requires the use of a forklift, your designated supervisor will arrange a training session for you. In the event of a life-threatening emergency, for instance, if a piece of material has fallen on someone, a supervisor may designate a worker to operate the forklift. You must be aware of the warning signals produced by the forklift. A horn will be sounded when the operator approaches a blind corner or is passing through a door. Some forklifts are equipped with reverse alarms. A beeping alarm will be heard when the forklift is backing up. The following are additional safety guidelines when working in an area where forklifts are operating. Number 1. Look out for forklift forks so you don't trip over them if a forklift is in a parked mode. 2. Never walk under loads. They may fall on you. 3. Never ride as a passenger on a forklift. 4. Be alert for forklifts at intersections or doorways. 5. Keep a safe distance from loads. 6. Stay clear of turning forklifts. 7. Be sure that the driver knows where you are. 8. Never use the forklift to lift a person. Observe all forklift safety rules and report any unsafe operations to your designated supervisor, and never operate a forklift unless you have been trained to do so. To ensure your safety and to maintain a top quality product, you must always dress appropriately for your work area. Ask your designated supervisor for the dress code requirements. Shoes or boots with slip-resistant soles that provide good traction are required. Sandals, open-toed, or canvas athletic-type shoes are prohibited. All hair must be pulled back and or pinned up and tucked under a hairnet for sanitary reasons and to prevent it from being caught in moving machinery. If beards are allowed, they must be covered as well. Loose-fitting or torn clothing is not allowed. Shirts must have sleeves and shirt tails must be tucked inside of pants at all times. Jewelry must not be worn in production areas. Wear safety glasses with side shields, face shields, or goggles as required by the task being performed. Consult with your designated supervisor to determine if your job duties require eye protection. Know the locations of eye wash stations to assist in the removal of dust and other particles. You can protect your fingers and hands from cuts, scratches, bruises, and burns. Ask your designated supervisor for the appropriate hand protection. You can protect yourself against respiratory hazards by following established guidelines and using appropriate respirators when needed. These include both single-use dust mist masks and half-mask and full-face cartridge filter respirators. Ask your designated supervisor for the appropriate respirator if needed. Respirators must be worn in a proper fashion so that there is a good seal to the face. Facial hair can prevent a good seal and is therefore prohibited on anyone required to use a respirator. Clean your respirator, half or full face cartridge with warm water and soap after each use, and then store it in the proper location. Inspect your respirator before and after each use for any problems. If it's deficient in any manner, for instance cracks or straps broken, do not use it. Return it to your designated supervisor and request a replacement. Always store your respirator in the proper location. Never wear a respirator unless you've been trained, medically tested, and deemed physically able to wear one. Any piece of equipment that has exposed points of operation, ingoing nip points, blades, or rotating parts is a potential hazard to the people who work with or near it. Regularly inspect all machinery, equipment, and/or tools to ensure safe operating condition. Stay alert. You must have total concentration on the task at hand when operating machinery or equipment. Likewise, you must not distract others while they are operating their machinery or equipment. Never operate machinery or equipment that has safety guards or shields if such devices are not in place. Never bypass safety features on machinery or equipment. Keep hands and fingers away from the points of operation, ingoing nip points, blades, rotating parts, and/or any other hazard points when working with machinery or equipment. During general housekeeping and cleaning of your immediate area, never attempt to bypass any machine guards or shields. Do not crawl under or place hands or fingers in between moving parts of the conveyors or equipment. Never climb, step, walk, or ride on conveyors or equipment. Never reach into conveyor mechanisms to get something stuck or jammed. The work environment at this facility often includes flour, grease, and food product that may end up on the floor. The chances of a slip or fall can be minimized by following these guidelines. Walk, don't run. Change direction slowly. Walk within the designated walkways where possible. Concentrate on where you're going. Inattention leaves you vulnerable to slips and falls. Practice good housekeeping. Pick up trash, debris, and other items you see on the floor immediately. Keep electrical cords and other tripping hazards out of traffic areas. If a spill occurs, no matter how small, wipe up the excess material immediately. Post wet floor signs to notify others where floor areas are being cleaned or washed. Never climb on or use crates, boxes, chairs, or other substitutes for ladders. Use handrails and take just one stair at a time. Never attempt to carry a load that obstructs your line of vision in front or to the side of you. Get assistance. Everyone is responsible for noticing, reporting, and/or correcting conditions that could cause slips, trips, or falls. This company has developed and implemented an emergency action plan which is posted on the company bulletin board. The first consideration of the plan is to protect the employees, contractors, and visitors, then to preserve property, and finally to restore operations. Our emergency action plan outlines procedures to be followed in the event of an emergency, including fire, explosion, chemical leak, power outage, riot, and hurricane. The procedures include how to handle these problems, which facility representatives should be contacted, and which departments will provide emergency assistance and equipment. The plan describes facility warning alarms, evacuation routes and procedures, and also identifies employees with special skills such as first aid and CPR. Located throughout the plant is a map of the building which identifies exit routes, exit doors, and outside assembly locations for the facility. Please take the time to review the map in your area in order to familiarize yourself with evacuation routes and procedures. Besides reviewing your primary evacuation route, be sure to review alternate routes as well. Cooperation is key to a successful emergency action plan. If you have any questions, ask your designated supervisor. This company is committed to operating safely, and we ask that anyone working in this facility share that commitment. Despite our strong commitment to safety, we are aware that accidents may happen. In the event that you are injured on the job, your medical costs and a portion of your earnings will be covered by your company's workers' compensation. When an on-the-job injury occurs, you must follow certain procedures. Number 1, you must notify your designated supervisor immediately, regardless of how slight you feel the injury is. You must also notify a representative of the service company for which you work. Failure to notify your designated supervisor and the service company immediately may result in an end to your assignment with this company. 2, in most states, you must use approved doctors. A list of approved doctors can be provided to you by the service company. In the event of an emergency, you will be transported and treated at the nearest emergency room. The accident will be investigated by your designated supervisor, and your cooperation is required. By adhering to plant safety rules and by exercising alertness and common sense, you can do your part to make this company a safe place to work. If you have any questions concerning accident reporting, ask your designated supervisor and/or your service company. You will now be asked to sign an acknowledgement that you understand the policies, procedures, and safety programs. We appreciate your attention. Remember, you are responsible for your safety and for the safety of those around you. If at any time you have questions or need assistance, see your designated supervisor or any member of management. Thank you.